Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate life and the pursuit of happiness. We are presented by Yes Realty Partners. We are powered by Intrastate Service Company, a home's best friend. Intrastate Service Company. Realtors watching the show, we know a lot of you do. Intrastate Service Company will undoubtedly help you get to that closing table. Judah Wickhauer is the director of this fantastic program, our North Star. A brother from another mother, 10 years. He and I have worked alongside each other. Is it 10 years or 9 years, Judah? 9 and change. Thank you, Judah Wickhauer.
It's too long. Whatever it is, it's too long.
I say it's a love-hate relationship. I love him. Sometimes I'm not sure if it's reciprocated, but we love him.
None of it is reciprocated.
We love him regardless. Judah, go to the studio camera, my friend, please, and let's welcome, ladies first.
Of course.
The fabulous Susan Stimart.
Wow, good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on the show. This is a big deal for us. Big deal for the Land Trust today.
Our pleasure. She's looking beautiful.
Yeah,
Her design right here.
Most folks may not know that about Mrs. Stimart, that she's a bit of a Renaissance lady. You actually designed that. So tell the story about your little design work.
You didn't know you were going to be talking about your apparel here, did you?
I didn't.
Your fashion line.
I didn't. I thought this was good for the weather.
So the whole thing was, this was a trick. You thought we were going to talk about affordable housing.
Yeah. No, this is a couple years ago. I had, I've always loved clothes, I'm going to be honest. I've always enjoyed clothes and fashion, and I just partnered up with a couple interesting folks in town. Carla Quenneville owned Les Fabriques for many years. IRC, International Rescue Committee, had some garment makers who were looking for things to do and making some extra income. So we all got together and we started designing and making clothes, and we had several fashion shows that raised money for IRC, which was a blast. And I don't seem to be able to quit it. I'm working on a Mother of the Bride dress for one of my relatives.
Very cool.
So here's the common theme, right? We're about ready to talk about affordable housing, some awesome stuff that the Land Trust has done, really outside of the box, and we'll get into the detail on that.
Yeah.
But you're employing refugees, so you're all about helping people.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
that is really cool. That's the common. That's the common thing.
Yeah.
So
Your beautiful 7/8 is watching
oh, there
the
you
show.
go.
Hey, Yona, we love you, Yona Smith.
Tried to get her to sneak in today, but she actually's got to go to work.
She's
so.
busy.
Oh, she's working.
She's grinding right there. We love you, Yona.
No, without doubt. So, today was a big day. This is the big day yesterday, actually. So I'll just kind of set the stage a little bit here, and then Susan, you can jump in after that.
Sure.
So, God, it was about 6 or 8 months ago, Stanley Martin reaches out to me and says, look, we've got these 15 affordable housing units in Spring Hill. We need some help, right?
And you got to say why. Why do they have these 15?
Okay, well, you can say
That's
why.
why she's here.
You'll say why. I had this whole speech prepared that I was going to go say, turn it into a sizzle reel. But I'm the chairman.
I know you are. I know you are the chairman. You
saying.
signed the checks. I know you do.
Go ahead, Mrs. Stimart.
Oh gosh, no!
Just cut me at my knees. I got it.
This is just giving it a shout out for Albemarle County's affordable housing policy. You and Greg Slater have been watching this for many years and seeing how it didn't always work as it should. But in this instance, I'm cueing it right back for you.
So thank you for teeing me up, because you knew that's where I was going to go. So that's exactly what happened. What happened was we've got these 15 units, right? We've made this commitment or proffer, whatever we want to call it, to build these 15 units, but we need help. We can't figure it out, right? So we sat down, a cup of coffee, mapped out something on the back of it, and this is an example of bringing everybody to the table, high-level stuff, right? Albemarle County had this policy. Stanley Martin was trying to produce and get it done. We brought in lenders. We brought in home inspectors. We brought in all these different folks, these 4 pillars, right, to go ahead and produce this. And we closed on our first unit yesterday, one of 15, a total of 15 to come. And we was I don't want to get too technical, but it was a very outside of the box contract negotiations and so forth and so on, but we're basically helping families get into houses. And I wanted to celebrate that today, and I wanted to celebrate that there is good things happening. Folks are getting into homes. They are doing it, and we've built this mousetrap that can continue along. Because as you know, as most folks know who watch this, Albemarle County just adopted, and I'll let you get into this, the new housing policy where you actually have, you meaning the developer, actually has to produce. You actually have to put people in homes, in affordable homes, not actually kind of pay your way out of it.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right,
maybe
right.
that segue worked good for you.
And I was just sharing this morning how Ann Malik and I crossed paths at Albemarle Baking Company, ordering ahead one of their princess cakes. And she goes, "Susan, what's up?" And I said, "Well, Spring Hill Village, it is going." And she shared with me later on, she's like, "This is a good example, to use your word." She used the exact same word, a good example for others too. So I'm really excited about that.
It's a good example that you can't, one entity, one piece of the puzzle cannot do this on its own. The developer and the builder couldn't do this on its own. The county can't do this on its own. The land trust, PH, we have multiple nonprofits working on it. We could not have gotten to this place without Piedmont Housing Alliance, right?
That's right.
Because they helped pre-qualify the folks. They helped with down payment assistance, some as much as 20%.
The home buyer training, they're doing
The home buyer
they're
training.
doing, financial counseling.
And then we brought in the private sector, which is of course the builder, but Fulton Mortgage, who literally created a product just for this.
Right.
Literally.
Just
Meaning,
for the land
and
trust.
it's a portfolio money. So what portfolio money means, for those who don't know, is they're using their own cash. They're not sending it out to the street. They're not getting FHA money or HUD money or government money. They are literally using their own cash to loan out there. So they're in it big time.
We should offer a little bit of insight into the new policy the Board of Supervisors adopted, because this is fairly recent.
It is, and I'm not quite ready to speak about it, except that Keith has been giving a lot of support to the work that's being done, and so yeah, it's exciting. City of Charlottesville is right behind with their policy as well. I was looking back and thinking about this morning's show, a study that came out in April of 21 from the Low Income Housing Coalition, and they specifically cite the land trust as one of the solutions for helping to get in front of the challenges that are facing the city right now that are pretty significant, right? You know, when you talk about having the HUD standard for a two-bedroom housing wage of $24 an hour, but yet here in the city there's an average wage of $16 an hour, you know there's a big gap. There's a big gap. And so the land trust isn't going to address all of the gap. There are other solutions out there, other tools in the toolkit.
Silver buckshot.
But yeah, it is one of several, and it was great to see that shout out in April 2021 for the land trust, and then here we are today moving forward on what could be 15 houses in the coming months.
So I got the policy. You want me to read that off?
I've got it in front of me. You go ahead.
The new affordable housing requirements and definitions, including that rezoning special use permits have 20% affordable housing,
20%,
as well as changes to unit prices and extend periods of affordability, will be delayed until incentives are improved. So go ahead.
Yeah, so they're working on that. I know this firsthand because
Yeah.
I'm involved in the conversations. So what they're trying to do is negotiate or have discussions. Negotiate's the wrong word. Is to have a coming to understanding, very similar how we did at Spring Hill, how bringing all these different entities together to try to work on incentive packages for that. But ultimately, the 20% will, this incentive package will happen. The 20% will kick in place. So if 100 lot subdivision, 20 of them will be affordable on that. And it's a cross between affordable and workforce housing.
Right.
You know, that this term is interchangeable in my opinion on that end of it. So, but you know, I believe Board of Supervisors, but I was texting a couple of them this morning, and they're making some great progress on this incentive program. So you'll see something about the actual details here probably within, I don't want to put a timeline to it, but very
soon.
Very soon.
Neil says, Neil Williamson's watching, Free Enterprise Forum.
Hi, Neil.
Note the developer mandates are on hold until the promised incentives are developed.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. So but the thing is it didn't stop. This is going on. There's discussions going forward on it. It eventually will get there. It just needs a little bit of help. And hats off, in my opinion, to the Board of Supervisors, because they didn't want to flat out do something without bringing these other partners into the room. So that was, in my opinion, pretty smart. But that's literally how we, as the land trust, got this to work. Right?
That's right.
We listened to the developer. Builder reached out and said, "I need help." We connected it with Stacy and the city and said, "Okay, this is our idea. Will this work?" And Stacy goes, "Yeah, it's a great idea. We can do this."
He's speaking about Stacy Pethia.
Thank you.
Senior planner with
Doctor,
Albemarle
we
County.
should say.
Yeah.
Dr. Stacy
Pethia,
Pethia.
Albemarle Housing. Yep.
So she's the one that reviews it. County administrator, Board of Supervisors all kind of looked at it informally and said, "Yeah, this path will work," because we had some proper language we needed to negotiate between all the entities, and then we started promoting it. Greg Slater promoted it. I promoted it. Found buyers. We're doing counseling sessions. We're doing class sessions. This is really working, and it's really delivering product, and it's what do you call it?
Proof of performance.
Proof of performance. There you go, brother. And this is the only thing this can do is grow. So
And
we're
get
super
more
excited.
and more efficient. And this is helping us get the word out, because as we've seen from a recent study from some UVA kids, 180 Degrees Project, even the University of Virginia doesn't list the land trust as a housing resource partner. Whoops. So we got to fix that. And we got to get the word out about this opportunity for land trust homes.
So that's really all I wanted to do today. I just wanted this, everybody's talking about affordable housing. There's a lot of talk.
Stuff is getting done.
We're producing. We're
Yeah.
actually putting families in homes. Not at the pace that we want, not at the pace that we need to do it, but we've kind of created just this one little mousetrap that works. And the takeaway in that is not just one entity. It is everybody working together to get there. So we're excited. We've got 4 more or 3 more. How many more closing, Susan?
We've got 3 more coming up in
3.
the next couple weeks, and then we're going to be marketing.
Yeah.
3
So
more.
so we've got another 3 more closings coming up here within the next couple of weeks. More projects coming on. So we got a total of 15. So anybody who's interested, DM myself, DM Susan, DM you, whatever. We'll send you the links for it. It's out in CAR, so you can find the links there. But it's just one of these things you train for. I was thinking about this morning. You train for a marathon, right?
Yeah,
You're a
yeah,
runner. You're
yeah. I've
a
done
former
that.
Division I runner for Texas,
I
right?
didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Who'd you run for?
I ran for LSU and
LSU.
University of Texas.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Those are big time programs.
It
Cross
was
country.
so much fun. Yeah, cross country and track. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we got questions coming in. Grace wants to know, where is Spring Hill?
Spring Hill Village.
Yeah.
Spring Hill Village is located where Route 20, Scottsville Road, starts to converge with Avon Extended. So
Okay.
it's below.
It's a great spot.
Yeah, it's below. If anyone knows Snow's Nursery, shout out to Snow's Nursery and the old blue truck. It's just below that
Look at
on the
her.
left side.
That's great.
So that's where it is. The location is perfect. Easy
Mountain views, even. Oh my
Mountain
God!
views.
Looking over
Urban Ring.
at,
Urban Ring.
Yeah, Albemarle County's Carter's Mountain. It's
straight
gorgeous.
shot into Charlottesville. Straight shot onto 64. Bus connection.
2 miles from Wegmans Shopping Center. Yeah.
Bus connections not too far away. I can't remember exactly where it is, but there's one not too far away.
Well, interestingly enough, one of our home buyers works for CAT, and the CAT service hub is right there.
That is
so
awesome.
Super
So there you go.
close, convenient.
So we've got public transport. We've got
Major grocery.
major grocery,
Urban Ring.
urban ring,
Lots of employers.
Yeah.
lots of employers.
Great schools. Great
For
schools.
about
That's Mountain View.
It's Monticello High School.
Yeah. Mountain View Elementary.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yep. Tandem Friends Private. Yep.
Yeah. Neil Williamson says, this is the big question. The big question is, once the policy is in place, will the incentives be sufficient to keep projects from going by right instead of taking the risky rezoning?
So that is the multi-million trillion dollar question.
Yep. Yep.
You want to tackle that question?
No.
You want to tackle that question?
Look, I'm going to try
Because
to.
it's easier to do it by right.
Of course.
But you
of course,
don't
of
get
course.
as many units.
Right.
You don't get the kinds of communities that people are looking for, which are some of the amenities and things like that.
You don't get the diversity.
You don't get the
You
diversity.
solve affordable housing.
That's right. That's right.
And I will tell you, because I'm having conversations with other developers, they want to participate in this. They want to do it's. First of all, it's good business, right? And secondly, they want to participate in it. But that's the this, what is it? What was that show? The $64,000 question?
I think it was something like that.
Back in the day.
Joyce Washington.
I just
welcome to the
dated
show.
myself.
A little bit, but that's okay. Grayson, who watches the show regularly, says, how many units of affordable housing in this neighborhood?
15.
Okay, that's great.
Total of 15.
15.
Yeah, it's
One
total
month.
of 15.
Yeah.
We're working with them to do the full 15. And that, so hey, here's the shout out to here. The way this program we set up, it costs us about, was it $20,300
Per unit.
per unit to do this. So that's just the cost to do the transaction. This is
Doesn't
not,
account for board time, staff time. Yeah.
but this isn't like down payment assistance. That's coming from PH and other sources on that. This is just the transaction cost of around $20,300 on that, and that covers all your whole myriad of. So what we do is we pay the buyer's closing costs, the seller's closing costs. All those closing costs are packed in together. So we need to raise a minimum of $20,000 per unit times 15. We have enough to do about 7, but we need to
Is that
remain
300K?
about 300K.
Mustache Dan Pettit's got a question.
Yeah.
Mustache Dan.
What? No ties? That's what he's going to say.
So, no, it's a
tie
legitimate
today?
question. Is the mortgage at Spring Hill for affordable owners roughly $13 per month or so?
That's right. That's right.
That is awfully close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all in roughly.
Yep.
Just call it $1,400.
I mean, that's pretty darn good.
It's
With the 1 year all-in warranty from Stanley Martin. Stanley Martin, like the number one home
United
builder in
States, actually.
Virginia.
Yeah.
In the United States.
actually,
I stand
Is it
corrected.
U.S.?
U.S. Google it.
More than Ryan?
No, the National
one.
Home Builders Association has named them 2021 Builder of the Year.
Oh, Builder of the Year. We're not talking units produced.
No.
Okay,
No,
Builder
no,
of the Year.
yeah.
Okay.
Quality,
So they are named Builder of the Year.
That's amazing.
That is huge.
That's
And
amazing.
Our little Stanley Martin.
So this question's come in from Brian for you.
Hi, Brian.
Does Stanley Martin have an advantage of doing this over, say, smaller builders that are also trying to do this?
Good question. We've worked certainly with the smaller builders.
So here's the reality of it is, it costs Stanley Martin a substantial amount of money to sell them at the 243. So they have, the builder.
A smaller builder would be financially strapped to do that.
It would be very
Yep.
difficult, smaller, and to find smaller builders, right? But Stanley Martin has the ability to absorb that, they're losing way more than what we're putting in
Per unit.
Well,
Way
and
more.
then with our prior project, Nassau Homes, Bramante stepped up to the plate. And
Bramante, yeah,
did
Christopher
a very
Bremett.
high quality job as well.
Christopher Bremett, we love him on the show.
Did that at cost. That was a huge thing. But this scenario is a little different, right? So basically, and not to get too much in the weeds, we basically did a dual closing at the table. And so we meaning the land trust, bought it. 30 seconds later, our buyer bought it. It just slid across the table. We wrote a $20,000 check, $23,300 and something dollar check to do that.
Fulton kicked in $1,000 in their program.
Correct. Fulton Mortgage kicked in some money, so everybody kicked in some capital to do this, and the buyer, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, had no money out of pocket, or very little, like a couple $100 if I remember correctly.
If they qualified for the Piedmont housing down payment assistance, that's correct.
Correct. Yeah.
That's
So
right.
they basically bought into a home, and some of it was as much as 20%, right? Not this particular transaction, but some other transactions we've done that the down payment assistance was as much 20%. So if it's a $200,000 buy, basically they're getting granted $40,000 that they have to pay over time, or excuse me, if they're in the home over a certain period of time, they get that forgiven. I can't remember.
Depends on the source of the down payment.
Correct.
From PH, because PH works with a number of different sources for down payment resource. Department of Housing and Community Development, Albemarle County, City of Charlottesville. So it just depends on which source they're tapping into for that individual's down payment assistance.
Heather, go ahead.
Well, down payment assistance is, again, driven by what are those individuals' circumstances, where's their credit score, what's their debt-to-equity ratio, and things like that. So that all gets driven through the housing counselors working at PH.
So something to note here, and just paint in a very simple language on this. This is extremely complicated process. We do this for a living every day, and this is multiple times more complicated to get from the point of somebody saying they can do this to get to closing, and I just can't overstate.
But I think for the home buyers, they don't feel it's as complicated, right?
Because they're not seeing it.
That's right. So I don't want to scare away any potential home buyers, Keith, because for them
good
it's
call.
actually not
Good
so
call.
painful.
You're right. See, there you go. That's why she's executive
Executive director right there. Nicholas Irby, CMO, Merchant Financial Services, is watching. More questions coming in. Johnny Ornalis, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Johnny.
Heather Walker, welcome to the show. We love you at this network, Heather Walker. So this comes in via Twitter. So how do we scale this to other builders and developers?
Well, I think that's what Albemarle is
trying to figure out.
Yeah. What are the incentives?
No, how you scale this is what we're doing right now. Literally what we're doing right now. We're talking about it. We're getting it out there. We're getting folks to know that this option is out there. We scale it up by communicating with the developers, the county, and say, this is an availability. This is available here. If you, developer and builder, wish to do this, and that's how it's scalable. That's what I'm doing. I'm talking to all the local guys or local folks on how to scale. That's how you scale this up. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, finding the resources to do that too.
Well, yeah, then money. Yeah, you need money. Got that too.
Your buddy Gavin Sherwood watching the program.
Hey, Gavin.
Gavin, hope you're doing well. We enjoy when you tune into the program. So another question here via Twitter. This one I think should be directed. Actually, this could be both you guys here. Why not expand? You guys talk about this all the time on the show. Why not expand the growth area past that 5% threshold to create more rooftops at this affordable housing model? It's a great question.
Yeah, so this was decided back in the early 80s as a public policy. So this would be about whether Albemarle County resident citizens want to revisit that public policy. They have a window, if you recollect the Biscuit Run development. That was proposed to be a large mixed-use development.
Now it's a park.
And now it's a
That's
state
an
park.
unused park.
An unused
An
park.
unused park that's on ice.
Yep.
The Breeden family, the former owners of a Biscuit Run, they still have a portion of that under ownership.
They do for their personal residence, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's a really good question for whether there could be a swap of real estate somewhere where it made sense. And the other folks thinking about this question too are University of Virginia. You may remember that operation, looking at their 1,000 to 1,500 unit commitment. They want to act on that on university-owned holdings. Well, some of the university-owned holdings technically are in the rural areas, outside the growth area boundary. So just brings up a question. I'm just raising the question today.
I'm glad you did. I like that you did that.
And we're going to try to pivot to something. No, look, I'll keep on using the silver bullet
Analogy.
versus silver buckshot analogy. All these little pieces make a difference. You've got to, look, if we're going to grow affordable housing, obviously they have to go somewhere. So either the growth area has to grow. It just has to grow because, what did we, I think Neil determined this.
Neil's watching. He just shared his white paper.
Yep.
Density deferred, density denied. The Enterprise Forum.
What matters?
Content slinger, hashtag elections matter, Neil. Elections matter, Neil.
But look, if we've developed this couple of silver bullets that actually is working, right? And it brings all these entities together. But if we don't have a place for them to go, then all these thousands of hours we put in, it's kind of just going to fizzle out a little bit. So of course, logically, they got to go somewhere. They've got to grow. But the urban ring, we say 5%. I think 1 to 2 to 3% at the most of it is actually usable at this particular point.
I mean,
That's
and
my
that
opinion.
also includes commercial.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and not all the land's developable. You taught me that.
That's what I'm trying to say. When you start peeling away all this other stuff, what remains is not that much. An example would be Lake Monticello, right? Oh my God, it's got 4,300 lots. Well, 4,500 lots. There's 4,300 homes in it. So the developable lots are not a huge amount. So that's kind of what's going on with this urban ring, and we have to grow it a little bit. But what we've were able to accomplish is a first step. So you can go around and say, okay, grow the urban ring. Here's a solution, right? Here's a solution. Mr. Developer, here's a solution. And that's,
our buddy Christopher Bremmett watching the program right now. We love Christopher Bremmett.
we do. I don't know why I wasn't
Chamberlain
invited to the party the other day, but I'm going to let that one slide. I got pictures of yours truly across the way from me and Christopher, and I was working, but that's okay. I won't rub it in. It's okay.
More questions coming in. What is the range of salaries for affordable housing owners at Spring Hill?
Great question.
Great question. So the land trust at this moment in time is serving folks earning 60 to 80% of area median income. If we can bring in more subsidy, we're going to serve folks who are earning less.
Correct.
That April 21 study I referenced, the Low Income Housing Coalition, they see the answer as being serving people earning 50% of area median income. So that's a goal. That's a goal.
So I think maybe the question might be, and Susan, you can recite this probably easier than I can, is what the income limits. You think that might be what the question was?
The income limits, which are on our website.
Yeah.
So I don't know them off the top of my head. You might be able to recite them.
For a single person, it's going to be $52,500. And then for those who are looking to apply for the down payment assistance program from Piedmont Housing Alliance, which is a great program, they want to make sure that your income is leaving you in a place where you can afford your house. So they've got their own debt to income ratios, but generally speaking, if you're earning upwards of $48,000, you're probably going to be eligible. Now, if you're a larger family, the cap for how much you can earn up to is obviously going to go up. Two-person households around $60,000.
That's the exact number.
And then I think the three-person jumps to $67,000.
Exact number.
Okay, so
I'm reading it right now. Well done. Let's go for 4 for 4. What's a 4-person?
You're on the hot seat right now.
What's a 4-person?
No,
Come
I'm
on.
losing that one. I'm losing that one.
Your salary might depend on this. 74.9.
74.9. There we go.
So Neil's got a comment. Neil Williamson.
Of course, Neil's got comment.
I mean, I like it.
I love Neil.
I think he makes the show better. Neil Williamson, Free Enterprise Forum. Check out his content online. It's A+ content. Albemarle County's current comprehensive plan dedicates 14,700 fewer acres to the development areas than the 1971 plan. Since 1979...
And that's that 1986 change we talked about.
That's
public
right.
Policy change, yep.
He says since 1979, there have been very few minor adjustments to the described development areas. In comparison, Portland, Oregon has expanded their development area 36 times in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, that brings up questions of integrity, though. Back to Neil. If you stick to a policy, there's a reason for it. And so they'd have to have a good rationale for why they would go back and revisit that policy. But I want to bring up another question relating to that.
I don't know if I want to let that one lie, but go ahead.
What, you don't want to respond to that?
I'm going to let her keep.
I'm
going to let her keep on going with that one.
Why rising housing prices are a drag on our economy. That was a question raised by some REMI economists last week, and they were looking at Washington State, which Keith knows pretty well in addition to Oregon, and they were looking at where the highest priced houses were selling: Clark, King, Pierce, and Snohomish. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay. And then they were comparing that to other counties in Washington State and looking at the impacts on jobs and job loss. I'm going to tie it back to economics for Neil, because I think that's important for us, not just to talk about diversity, not just to talk about affordable housing in general, but why do we need affordable housing? Well, it's actually supporting our economy. If you don't have affordable housing, you're losing folks to other areas where they can make the housing work with the jobs ratio.
So I'm going to expand that a little bit.
Okay.
All housing supports the economy. Dr. Lisa Sturtevant has quoted, and I've been trying to get her
Outside of the government, the top generator for the economy, the Commonwealth of Virginia, is what you guys do.
I'm just going to drink a cup of coffee and let you do
2 years, you taught me well.
2, it's more than 2.
I mean, I've said for 2 years, I've spent a lot of time with you.
2.5 years.
You've taught me very well.
I looked at the calendar the other day. Yeah, so.
It's been my pleasure.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. Are we going to hug? You want to hug?
Judah, what do you think about this? Are you starting to throw
I
up?
love this guy. He knows I love him too. Judah's just used to it. More comments coming in. Okay,
But
finish your thought.
thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I distracted you there. I've
Rock.
been told by QB not to distract you when you're in the middle of a sentence or
Did he really?
poignant Oh, yeah.
Really?
It says, when Keith is saying something really poignant, do not distract him.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's the fun of it.
I mean, it's a talk show. Click and clack.
Let's see what Smith does after you.
I'm failing QB right here. I'm sorry.
It's my attention deficit. All of a sudden,
I know. Finish your thought.
No, I can't.
You forgot it.
I
You lost it. You know what he was saying? We were talking about the
I got it.
economy,
I'm only teasing. I
good
actually
doctor,
got it.
Lisa Sturtevant.
The good doctor Lisa Sturtevant has said statistically, housing, which encompasses a lot, right, is the number 2 gross domestic product producer. Driver, thank you, for the state of Virginia. I can't speak for any other state, but that's it. So
I would bet a lot of the other ones.
absolutely, yeah. Well,
But
Housing
Keith,
is
this is where your hat as Regional Housing Partnership Chair is so important, because you can push those housing units into other parts of Virginia. We're still going to have that economic growth driver. But now, what are the impacts to our transportation system?
well,
Look at that. Well played, Susan Steinhardt.
Well,
That
I
was
was
good.
literally going to go into that because I remember somebody else having a little monologue about that. If not yesterday, was the day before, about transportation, and you cannot talk about affordable housing without at least 3 topics simultaneously. The actual affordable housing component of it, right? Transportation and
Economics.
education.
Education, okay.
Right, you've
I was
got
gonna
to
say
have that
economics, but-
education component into it, and we're going to bring in Jesse Rutherford in here, and we're going to do a little roundtable stuff
nice.
because he. I was going to say he's running, but nobody's running against him.
Yeah, he's
but
running unopposed.
He's running
Yeah.
unopposed.
Elections matter.
Election
Neil
matter.
Williamson. You
Competition.
told us that.
Competition
It's
matters.
good for everybody.
It's good for everybody.
But Jesse's doing a great job.
But if you take a look, and Neil could probably quote these numbers off the top of your head, one of the reasons why Nelson County might be a really good driver for this topic, for housing in particular, and affordable housing.
Livingston, love Livingston.
Absolutely, I know. We've been talking about Livingston. We'll talk offline off of that. But they have been historically losing children in their school system where others have been gaining. So there's a little bit of room in their school system.
That's right.
Or not. And while we're on that, we're going to have some other roundtables coming up because I'm going to be bringing in folks running for the Board of Supervisors and also folks running for the school board. Everybody at this table, Neil, but most folks do not know that they're 2 separate boards. They're 2 separate elected positions, and the Board of Supervisors, its only real
It
impact.
doesn't really have much influence over the school board.
Well, it controls the purse string.
Outside of that. Yeah.
Correct. That's the only control.
Right.
That's the only control it has. So
A lot of people don't know that.
most people don't know that
Yeah.
because if you come from like New York or something,
different.
it's a whole different animal.
Right.
Into that.
Carol Schwab Barnett watching the program. Rod Brunel watching the program.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for
guys.
watching.
Appreciate it.
So, man, I just wanted to do a shout out. This is. I was on cloud 9 yesterday. This was a ton of work for everybody. A ton of work of everybody involved in it. But it's what was that? The A team. I love it when a plan comes together and works.
Yeah,
right.
that's good.
We mapped out this on the back, literally on the back of a napkin, and
Some of the best ideas.
and we're now putting and the collective we is huge, right?
Stanley Martin Homes.
Yep.
Fulton Mortgage.
Yep.
Piedmont Housing Alliance. Albemarle County.
Yep.
Accurity Fincham Appraisal.
Yep.
Royer Caramanis.
Nest.
Nest.
Little company by the name of Yes Realty Partners
Yes
in that.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. In that, Nest Realty. There's a bunch of other folks. Then you have all the elected officials that have been involved in this, the county staff that's been involved
Dr. Pethia.
in this. You mentioned Fulton, right?
I did.
Fulton had multiple folks into that.
Yes.
The Stanley
Yes.
Martin team is a dozen at least that I'm personally communicating with to go ahead and make this work.
Well, and
And real estate agents.
And I want to back up a moment
Please.
to the Click and Clack show.
Okay.
Jerry Miller and Judah.
Yes.
Because there's a little thing called a time machine telethon a few months ago
Let's
that
bring
are
up the
literally.
noisemaker for that. There we go. There we go, Susan. Keep going, Susan.
I'm still
Steinhardt.
recovering from that 12 hours.
You? How about me?
I'm still
Well, you-
hearing about it.
I
I'm
gotta
still
tell you.
hearing about it in the community.
That was amazing. I mean, this dude
It was
talked.
teamwork.
No.
The whole group was together.
But our donors
Yes.
and your all's efforts are making this happen. That's what
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Yeah, because
yes.
we.
That was the funding, that was the gap funding we needed to get to this point.
So there's, of all the folks that you listed
That's
out,
awesome. We should talk about that.
that's what we're going to do right now.
We should create a tangible pop of how the donations did this. I mean, that's a campaign waiting to happen.
Correct, but the point that I was trying to tie into it was, and you two guys are not helping my attention deficit syndrome.
Sorry, QB. Sorry, QB.
At all. I'm going to hear this later on in my meeting
You're going
today.
to a meeting at 12 o'clock.
I'm going to hear it. But the reality of it is, the public also helped make this happen.
Yes.
And thank you for clarifying that for me. Thank you, because I've been so dived into the details of trying to get this complicated transaction, because this is pretty complicated stuff from a transactional perspective to happen, and I forgot the citizens participated in this.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
The social
Thank you for
equity
doing that.
game and the time machine telethon were super
Well,
helpful.
just in general, and it goes back to these pillars that I have with the Regional Housing Partnership, right? And one of them is the community, right?
Yes.
So the community
Yes.
participated
yes.
in this.
It's amazing every time I talk about the land trust how much support we hear from community members. But at the end of the day, this is so helpful because not enough people actually know about it. So thank you for
Well,
getting
part
the word
of
out.
why I wanted you to sit across the table from me was to personally,
Super smart lady.
well, without a doubt, but to personally thank you. We joked around about the 40 hours, and I know you work way more than that, because I could just tell on my text that you're waiting. I can count up the 40 hours of texts that are put. I wanted to thank you. This is a lot of hard work. You're super passionate about it. This is not a 9 to 5 thing to you. Your phone doesn't get shut off at 5 o'clock because you'll get texts from me at 10 o'clock at night. So I personally want to say thank you in front of everybody. Thank you.
Nicholas Erpy, the CMO of Emergent Financial Services, says all houses support the economy. He says, I love that, Keith.
Right, and I haven't had the opportunity to do this. I was reading early this morning a white paper. It was done in 2015, and Neil was kind enough to try to help me with some of the math. I didn't quite get there yet on it. We'll save it for another show. But Virginia Housing did a white paper in 2015.
6 years ago.
Yeah. Well, a lot has changed in 6 years, but the methodology and the math on it was the premise of the white paper was that housing is not a drag on local jurisdictions. So we're going to talk about this a little bit in the future in another show, because I just haven't quite did the math on it. But in
People are getting pushy and saying, Jerry, ask my questions. I'm trying.
Well,
Go
there was
ahead.
a
AKA
myth.
Smith, shut up.
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
And there was a myth that was circulating for many,
So I
many
promised
years.
her I was only. So I kind of lied. I said I only need you
Oh,
about 15.
you knew this was going to go longer.
Don't tell anybody.
So this is Stephen Allshouse working at Albemarle County many years ago, trying to figure out at what sale price point do the real estate tax assessments cover their portion of services. And he pulled out a magic number from his model way back in the day of roughly 600,000. So I don't know that his model was accurate, Keith.
No, it's not.
And I think it's time to revisit the question.
No, I can. So that's what we're going to do. That model is not accurate, and I can't divulge too much of it. But we just went through this for Greene County. And their number was substantially lower than that.
Yeah.
But the important part is you take a look at what that number is and then what the average sales are and the appraised value. And so ultimately what happens is just, let's pick a number. It's $100, whatever it is. So if your house is $105, $150, well, that $50 that you're over is going to contribute to helping the homes that are $50 worth. But I'm going to work on the math on that end of it.
I think that's excellent. That's excellent.
But the way this white paper
important to know.
structures it, it makes it easy for a Marine to do.
Fire. This question: what happens to the people making $15 an hour? That comes out to roughly $28K a year. $15 an hour is, I think, $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
10K, $20K, $15 an hour. $30,000.
Great question.
So you want to
go ahead.
for it?
You tackle it.
I'm just saying, so if they're that two-person household, they can afford a land trust home.
So if there's two people working in the home making $15 an hour, that equals 30, right? Then that kind of gets you closer to
The
that.
60K,
Yeah.
maximum
Well,
60K.
we can't divulge names, but we have a immigrant retiree that is living on Social Security that has bought one of our homes. So it's substantially below.
It's really hard to know. Every
Yeah.
person's circumstances are unique.
Correct.
So that's why we encourage people to go to our online portal, take the survey, to figure out if they income qualify first with the land trust commitment to 80% of area median income or less, and then they'll go through an orientation on what a land trust home is or is not, because we don't want
We've got
people
one tomorrow.
to buy something that they're really not comfortable with. Yep.
We do. We got one
I
tomorrow.
know you do.
Yep, yep.
I know you do.
And then they're going to work with Piedmont Housing to make sure that
I was
their
telling
credit
Mrs.
score
Stimart,
is working
I
for
want to
them
go on
or
a
not.
bike ride. She goes, no, you're not. I went, okay.
Neil adds this stuff coming in on Twitter too. Good Lord. So this is a hot topic. You're getting blown up over here. I think people are seeing you on the show. From the 2019.
It's the total homemade.
She looks great,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it walks the walk, talks the talk.
There you go.
From the 2019 Local Government Spending Index report, Nelson County, during the study period 1998 to 2018, population increased at a rate of 15.22%, and school enrollment dropped by 13.42%.
That's right.
It is important to note the small enrollment size magnifies normal fluctuations in class size.
Well, Nelson County is a really interesting community to talk about as a data point, right? Let's be really specific about those numbers. They have a large retirement community
That's exactly
going on
right.
with Wintergreen and elsewhere.
That's exactly right.
And so I don't know that I would use that as the metric for all other communities. I think you have to look at
Well, that was my point I was trying to make. That's a very specific situation
trend
because,
for a very specific locality.
well, to quote Neil's "Elections Matters."
You just put that in the feed.
Did you?
Elections matter.
Did you?
He said supervisors set the property tax rate. Elections matter.
That's very much so. They set.
This is
They,
amazing.
yeah. So Nelson. The reason I chose Nelson County was that very specific reason. It's a bit of a one-off, right?
It is,
Because
it
it
is.
has this huge part of it that's a retirement community that's not
The retirement or the vacation home
vacation home,
circumstance.
correct?
Yep.
Fluvanna County's not a little bit like that, but not quite. There is a tremendous amount of retirees at Lake Monticello, but not like in Nelson County. So you just have to dig into the numbers. So I was going to say numbers matter, but elections matter.
Jackson on Twitter. God, listen to this. You ready for this one?
I've got my pen. I'm ready.
He said, last week, Keith asked the question on this network if affordable housing efforts were keeping up with the marketplace and the demand from the marketplace. I want to hear Keith's thought on his question. Dude, that just shows you right there. This is a question from last week. Last week, Keith. You did ask that question. Do you remember?
Remember this whole attention deficit syndrome?
I know you remember that question. You asked it.
I'm trying to remember if I want to remember it or not.
Well, we've got a number of amazing
I'm only
projects
kidding.
we
We'll
can
get
talk
to it.
about. We can talk about the county's support for Southwood Mobile Home Park coming together as a revitalization effort. PH is working on Friendship Courts as a revitalization effort to bring in mixed income. There'll be some land trust homes there. There's the county's commitment to an SRO, single room occupancy type housing situation up there on 29 North, which used to be the Red Carpet Inn. And then the University of Virginia's commitment to build 1,000 to 1,500
well,
units.
that's years down the pipe.
So, but that's what's going on. Is that keeping up, Keith?
So ask that question again.
Your question, I think did you ask that to me, Sean, and Neil? Was it on that show?
Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah, that was probably a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So what
The question was, are the affordable housing, from Jackson on Twitter, are the
Yeah.
affordable housing efforts keeping up with what the marketplace is doing, what the free market is doing?
So the answer to that is no,
No.
right? Because we're so many units short. All you would have to do is dig into the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, the Regional Housing Partnerships reports that they're putting out.
What's the publication this fall, right? It's coming this fall?
It's coming this fall, that's correct. But you can look on the website itself, and there's some draft copies of it. Make a long story short, I was throwing that question out to the team members over there to see what their thoughts are. Mine is pretty clear. There isn't enough, right? But to quote Neil a little bit, and that's part of what this math I want to do with this white paper and the cost on local governments.
Of housing development.
All housing helps move this up. So all housing helps move this rising tide. A rising tide rises all boats, if I think I got that right. Yeah. So all housing goes in.
Rising tide is good for all ships.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the reality of it is we don't have enough. This is kind of the reason I wanted to tout this today on the show, is that, look, I would have rather have said, we just moved 100 people in yesterday.
Right.
We only moved one. We only closed one.
One family, yeah.
One family, thank you.
Still.
One family.
Well, and the thing about it is that
pop, though.
location,
the pop works.
Yeah.
The pop
location matters too.
Excuse me?
Location matters.
Well, that's real estate. We can talk.
And this Spring Hill Village example, these affordable units are embedded into the market rate development. That's really important.
That's a great point to bring up, because these happen to be attached townhomes. So the affordable housing unit is in the middle or at the end or wherever it is. The unit next to it is market rate, which is $150,000 more, and you would never know the difference.
You'd never know.
You would never know, and that's the beauty of it, of this mixed. I don't want to say mixed income, but that's what comes to mind at the moment. So that's the beauty of it. The community is all mixed,
and that means that the schools have got diversity, and employers can access talent from nearby.
Well, it's interesting because I was wandering around the subdivision yesterday. I saw a lot of people looking about my age there, which means we're not influencing the school system. But I also saw families too, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This is an interesting one. Nikki Chambliss is watching.
Nikki,
we love you, Nikki. How do we get affordable housing in efforts like this and notoriously non-welcoming parts of the county, like Ivy, Western Albemarle, and the Keswick area?
So let's back up with
education.
Well, Nikki didn't ask that question.
Oh, sorry.
Nikki's giving props to us.
Oh.
That's from Twitter.
Oh, sorry.
There's a lot of stuff going on right
So I
here.
want to be
Have you
pretty
noticed?
clear about those neighborhoods they quoted, Ivy and Keswick. Those are rural area developments that are generally not expected to be rezoned for higher density. That's just the challenge with what the expectations. Those are supposed to be farming
that goes back
communities.
to the question Neil was asking.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So when this policy is finally adopted, but they haven't flushed out the specifics of it. But when that gets flushed out, and Susan, Jerry, and Keith want to do something somewhere, right? And we want to rezone it somewhere. This is the policy we have to apply with. And what Neil is asking, the three of us are going to look at each other and go,
There's no growth area left.
that's the point I'm trying to make is that we don't want to go through that brain damage, right? We're just going to go by right, thank you very much, and we're done. Even within the growth area, right? So, that's the answer to the question is about what we're doing at this very moment. It's about having the conversation, educating, and bringing the people to the table. We would have not closed this unit yesterday if we didn't bring all that dozen folks that you have in front of you or entities to the table, because sometimes what happens is they don't speak the same language, right? A developer speaks one language, the county speaks a different language, nonprofit speaks a third language, and that's something that we were able to do. It's, to be honest with you, turn it back to what I do for a living. It's what if all the realtors that are watching here, that's what we do for a living. Yeah. We bring all these different, and you know a little bit about this firsthand. You bring all these folks together and try to get to the end goal. Does that make any sense?
That makes sense.
It does.
You have more coming in. Are you ready?
Remember, I gotta.
I know. Well, I'm just saying.
Okay, so I'll shut up.
Topic
I'll shut up.
Here. What percentage of Nelson County is in the growth area, if any?
Oh, so Nelson County doesn't have the same growth area policy that Albemarle has that we've been speaking about. Nelson County is actually looking at a moment in their evolution of updating their entire zoning code. So that's really going to open up a lot more potential opportunity.
And the Regional Housing Partnership is helping with that because we are writing a chapter or a plan for their housing portion of this whole rewrite they're doing, and we're doing it for all the 5 jurisdictions, except for Charlottesville. I apologize.
That's right.
Well, that'd be 5, right? Because there's 6. So we're doing all but Charlottesville. Charlottesville's created its own.
So Gary follows on the question we just talked about. Would we need a zoning change to get affordable housing in Western Albemarle in the Ivy area or the Keswick area?
You would need actually a comp plan change and a zoning change.
No, what you need.
And that growth area policy being part of the comp plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
what was your thought? What you need is what? Less NIMBYs? Is that what you're going to say?
No, you need, to quote Neil again, you need willing property owners. That's your first step. You need a property owner that's willing to go through this process. I had a conversation with somebody on a project that is around Crozet, that it's in its 1.5 year approval process. It's 1.5 years. So the seller, let's just kind of get down to the nitty-gritty on it. The seller has to agree to wait that time to get its money.
That's a great point. It's a great point.
So to quote Neil, and it's to put a picture to it, to quote Neil, you have to have that willing property owner has to be willing to do that, to wait that, because at the end of the day, when it gets rezoned, it's worth more money to Jerry than it is. That's not, because I can get more units on it, so forth and so on that. Does that make any sense?
That makes perfect sense.
But I also want to point out, at any point in time, anyone in our region can donate or bequeath their property holdings for land trust homes. That can happen at any time, regardless of zoning. If it's already got a residential house on it, and they say, we'd like this to become a land trust house, they can put that in their will, and then the land will go to the land trust, and the next home buyer will be able to qualify as earning 80% of AMI or less.
So what Susan's saying, we're not exclusive to new construction, we meaning the land trust, right? If somebody if happen to donate a home, we can clearly do that. We can put it into the land trust, turn around and sell it to 60
income qualified buyer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But to go back to the question on that end of it is,
they also followed by saying this. It seems like, and I'm going to paraphrase here for the sake of efficiency and your time in the talk show. The follow-up is, and Kevin Higgins, I'm going to get to your question. Grayson, I'm going to get to your follow-up question. Lauren Thacker, I'm going to get to your question here too. The concern is on Twitter that affordable housing is going to be pocketed in certain portions of Albemarle and not others, which would then impact our diversity.
No.
But let me back that up a little bit.
Okay.
Because
Go ahead,
there is the idea of accessory dwelling units. That's a means of achieving affordability, rental affordability generally, but not always. And then the growth areas are intended for this higher density development. The rural areas are not.
I would encourage whoever that is to take a drive through Spring Hill. And
which is in the growth area.
Which is in the growth area. And I'm just to kind of get it narrow a little bit on it. The policy, this 20%, once we get through the incentive package of it, is any new subdivision that's going to come up, that's going to get rezoned, assuming that they want it rezoned, is 20% of the 100 lots or 200 lots or 300 lots will have affordable housing units or in it. The rest will be market. So that I can't say the word. Go ahead, say it. Integrates.
Yeah.
Thank you. Integrates.
Yes.
Integrates.
It's the Brooklyn thing. Whatever.
That creates diversity.
Thank you. It creates diversity. Yeah. So the answer to that question is it won't. So what this particular person's thinking is kind of like they used to do in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, that super intensity.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
you would and that thinking and that policy is long gone.
Yes.
It's going to be diversity of income in each individual. Sunshine and PHA is doing that with Friendship Court.
Right.
Right. It's a mixed income.
Yep.
Mixed income.
As they redevelop, they'll be bringing in land trust homeowners as well as renters at the different income affordability levels.
You got it.
Dude, I got it. I don't even think we're going to get to these here. So Natalie says, this question for you. So does that mean developers can no longer put cash to sidestep proffers?
Yes. That's the answer to that.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was something that was asked
Yes.
for in the city by that low-income housing coalition study, because they put up the cash and then the cash doesn't necessarily get used.
Right.
Yes.
And so,
The answer is yes, Susan.
Yeah. And then the neighborhood becomes sort of a mono-economic threshold, and there is no diversity. So yeah,
Oh boy.
What?
you got to go.
Nope.
This one from.
So
Go ahead.
let's paint the picture on that.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
That was the problem.
And that's what this policy fixes.
Instead of developers creating affordable housing, they were just giving cash to the municipality or
And-
jurisdiction and then doing
So
right?
So I want to give hats off.
Well, they
I
weren't
want
doing
to
just
give a
by
little
right.
kudos to Stanley Martin.
Yeah.
Because this project in Stanley, in that, actually they could have done that. They chose, so I want to be super clear about this. Stanley Martin reached out to me and said, we don't want to do this kicking cash into the thing. We want to produce, we want to put people in houses, help us do this. That's how this conversation started.
And they have a track record in Northern Virginia of doing the same.
But I want to be crystal clear. They chose.
They could have done that, but
They
they chose the hard path.
The hard path.
Yeah, that's what you're saying, right?
They
Yeah.
chose
They
the hard
chose
path.
the hard path for the betterment of the community.
In my
Yeah.
opinion, they chose the right path, but
Yes,
that's
yes.
different.
Kevin Higgins. Kevin, we love when you watch the program. We have a lot of questions here. You have a hard stop at 11:30, don't you?
Yeah.
You're going to be late to the partners meeting?
It's
When
okay.
some of the partners are watching?
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll know I'll be late.
Kevin, you will. Kevin Higgins, broad question. Given the current market conditions and what you think may happen in the future with rates, etc., what keeps you two up at night? Susan and Keith.
Great question. You take that first. I've got that one
I'm
already.
excited for the future.
Do you have any concerns?
no, we're
This
moving
is
in the
what-
right direction.
This is what keeps me up at night.
We're regionally organized organizations, so
But we're not singular. Go ahead.
What keeps me up at night is, and I've learned this from you, is the pinched supply chain associated with housing. And if the supply chain continues to be pinched, prices are going to continue to go up, especially as buyers are flocking to Central Virginia from wealthier areas with big bags of cash.
I didn't run it.
That keeps me up at night.
You watching lumber?
Lumber's way down.
Way
I
down.
learned this on Today y Mañana. Alex
Lumber's
Erpy
way down.
and Xavier Erpy were talking about this yesterday on Today y
Last
Mañana.
30 days, it dropped substantial.
But the subs, that has not been solved. The subcontract.
Yeah, so define, the definition of keeping up at night. So you can look at it two different ways. It's kept me up at night because I'm excited,
Yeah.
right? We're doing some great work, or oh shucks, or oh duck, oh
Yeah.
duck,
Oh, duck.
oh duck.
Yeah, remember Jamie Turner said the other day, I learned that there was a new kind of duck out there?
There's a new duck. Well, who knew?
New duck.
Quack quack.
Yeah.
But the reality, so I'm
That's
going to
good.
choose to take the higher level, the happy end of it.
Well, you're an optimist.
Right. So what's exciting, or keeps me up at night thinking is, okay, how can we scale this up?
Yes.
Can you put ADUs in Old Trail?
I believe you can, but don't 100% quote me on that.
Neil Williamson, can you put ADUs in Old Trail?
I don't think that's in
That
their
may be an
code.
HOA thing.
I don't think that's in their development code.
I think you're right. I think you might be right.
but-
So what a lot of people, I think it'd be
Love
helpful.
this.
Tell us about your background, right? Because you know a lot of this stuff because this is.
I remember when Old Trail was getting zoned. I'll put it that way. And how many
But
units?
what were you doing at the
When
time?
the Bates family was doing it?
Yeah.
But you used to work for the county in this
Yeah,
capacity.
with the economic development
yeah.
programming. That's right. So some of these developments, the developers were trying to think ahead and talk about where employment could be embedded in their projects as well. And Old Trail's a great example of that.
Work, live.
Work, live, exactly. At Belvedere, what's the one off of, I'm blanking out.
You're talking Lockland Hill?
Brook Hill.
Hill.
So you
getting
know
some good
what
employment.
keeps me up at night about this on the negative side
Yeah.
is the loss of interest in this, right? And that's the reason why.
We're talking about it.
In
That's why we're
affordable
talking
housing?
about
In
it.
affordable housing, or
Yeah, it's just
Gosh.
well, we've been talking about this for 2.5 years. I've been talking about it for 10 years, right? And it's finally at the point that we're having these real concrete conversations. What keeps me up at night is all of a sudden that fizzles out. Something happens that fizzles that out, and the eye is off the ball.
Okay.
That's what keeps me up. That, on the negative side, that's what worries me.
And I think you're saying that because you know more than anybody how much work it takes to get it done. And if you're not
one
committed
unit.
to it,
Look how much work it took one unit, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
how many hours can you-
By the way, a shout out to Chip Royer, because I don't think that was on your list.
Oh, we talked about
We
Royal Care
did.
Manors,
We
yeah.
did. I'm sorry, but had hundreds of hours to make this and did the right thing by us by the amount of money he charged.
The
Yes,
follow-up
yes.
to the ADU in Old Trail.
Okay, gotcha. By the way, ADUs are in Belvedere too. Just
So ADUs, auxiliary dwelling unit, for those who are listening.
I'm sorry. She may have been speaking about affordable dwelling units instead of.
Yeah, that's interesting acronym, because I have to pivot back and forth before that.
It's the same acronym?
Yeah.
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
it's the same.
Why is it-
I mean-
R.I.P.
I know.
R.I.P.
They need a branding person. So the follow-up question is, does the zoning have to change in the neighborhood for ADUs to be allowed?
If she's talking about auxiliary dwelling units, then yes.
So-
Carriage houses, mother-in-law suites, they're all the same thing.
Cottages.
Yep.
We're not. The Greg Slater would be the one that would know this.
But the
off
city's
back.
working faster than the county on that aspect. I think the city, we were hearing from Bob Pinio, he was
Love
really,
Bob Pinio.
So
really
the-
instrumental in
he-
helping
he
the
would
city
know.
get the auxiliary dwelling unit language put into their zoning code.
So to talk about the ADU thing, the very first meeting.
Affordable or auxiliary?
Well, let me get into this. So the very first meeting, I sat down to do this back of the napkin thing with Stanley Martin. They kept on using the term ADU, and I'm going, hold it. Are we talking? It took me about 5 minutes to figure out we weren't talking about auxiliary dwelling units. We were talking about affordable dwelling units.
Right.
I said, okay, guys, time out. From now on, we're not in our conversations.
Not gonna use the acronym.
We're not going to use that.
Just take the extra 2 seconds.
Let's
Yep.
just
Just say the word.
Just say the words
Yeah.
and
That was a smart move.
huh? What?
So how about this one for Susan? Can we keep going?
We're going. I got 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, this is from Bang on Twitter. Jerry, get Susan's take on what CVille plans together and the upzoning happening in the city and the impact that this could have in the area.
Oh my goodness, no, I know nothing. I've got nothing. Which project are they referring to?
No. So what they're
I know so little
referring
about the city.
what they're referring to is the comp plan rewrite.
Oh, for the city.
The
Oh,
upzoning of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a huge project that's coming in front of everybody. There'll be plenty of public comment, input coming. So
Go back and watch our show with Neil and
do your
Sean.
research, figure out what you want in your community, and then make your voices heard. The problem that we have with community input, though, as we've seen over the years, Keith, is not enough people get a chance to go to a public hearing.
Sure.
So send in your
But
email.
that's changed. I think that was one of the great things
Of COVID, the
Yeah.
Not
Zoom,
great.
the Zoom meetings.
Zoom
Total
meetings.
wrong word.
A positive that
Positive.
came out
Thank you,
of COVID.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you for
was
keeping-
the Zoom meeting, more engagement.
Thank
More
you.
engagement.
Yeah.
From
So you're
people
starting
who
to see more
are
engagement.
working 2 or 3 jobs and can't make it to a public hearing at 3 in the afternoon.
So talk about that for a second. So public hearings are for rezonings, so for board meetings, planning commission meetings, and all that stuff. It used to be that you couldn't participate via Zoom. Now the commissioners now and the board of supervisors have to be in the same room, right? That's moving forward. They're in a transition period right now at the moment. But if Jerry can watch and can comment on it instead of having to go there and go behind a podium.
Drive, find parking, et cetera. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So hopefully the positive, thank you for keeping me straight, Mr. Miller, of what has happened here the last 15 months, whatever it has been, is folks can have this ability to participate.
You want to tackle this one?
I don't know what it is.
You may not want to tackle this one. We can pass if you want. Which municipality in the area is more welcoming to affordable housing and policy changes?
Maybe it depends on the specific policy. Because like I said a moment ago, the city of Charlottesville is embracing auxiliary dwelling units. Albemarle County is working hard to catch up on that one.
So I'm going to answer that in a roundabout way.
Another one coming in that's pretty hard. Go ahead.
No, actually, it's a pretty easy thing to answer.
Yeah.
I've been doing this actively for 10 years, been doing this since 1987. Up until recently, pretty much nobody was talking about this as far as jurisdiction goes. I can tell you this because of the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, because of the Regional Housing
I feel like
Partnership.
8/12 really changed that. August 12th.
Oh, even
It put it more in the
No,
cycle.
I have
more in
to
the
tell you,
conversation.
I would have to tell, it may have
Put tailwinds
It
behind.
may have put tailwind, but this has been going on before that.
Okay.
The way I will answer that question, there isn't a single jurisdiction now that is not talking about this, that is not trying to figure out.
Do you want to say which one is
No, there is
leading
not.
the charge?
Yeah, I think it worked from the center out, but some are, like to quote Susan on that, some of them a little bit more aggressive. An example is Louisa County,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Louisa County, you could never get them to talk about housing. They are now doing some awesome stuff
With Habitat. Fantastic.
and they're at the board level, at the governmental level, this conversation of housing. So 10 years ago, when I got on the planning district commission, Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, conversation of housing was way down in the bottom.
Yeah.
And I pushed this up because I'm a bit of a pain in the ass, and I pushed this all the way up that it's one of the top things. Look at that.
We're all laughing in the studio, aren't we, Judah? Keith?
I think Liza's jumping.
Liza goes, really?
Liza's the dog, guys. For those that don't watch this show regularly, she's
Okay,
the dog.
I'm a bit. Okay, I'm a pain in the ass. So, but now it's up there, and that's what keeps me up at night. That if this conversation that is at the top of everybody's tongues, and every one of the jurisdictions are talking about it in different ways, but they're talking about it, gets back down to the bottom, and then we're going to have to start all over again and push this thing back up to the top.
Camila Priest, welcome to the show. Thank you for liking the program. Question for Susan.
Okay, sure. I'll
I'll
do
shut
my
up.
best.
I
I'll
know.
do my
I
best.
mean, people like Susan. ADUs are expensive to build. Won't
Yep.
these just be vehicles for folks who have money to create more wealth?
Oh, yeah, great question. So I think I like to go back to this idea that housing approaches, there's a variety of needs out there. And so I think about auxiliary dwelling units as being sometimes embedded in a person's house. Maybe we're talking about a room for rent, really. Maybe we're talking about someone who's coming out of a marriage, going into a divorce, and they're not ready to buy a house. Or maybe they're working a night shift at the hospital and they don't want to be in an apartment building. They go into a single-family house above a garage. They get a quieter place to sleep during the day. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, but it can help. And also the size of the unit is significant too, because if you've got a small auxiliary dwelling unit, you converted a garage, you built on top of a garage, you added to your existing house, you built into the basement. It can be extra income for that family that maybe they're going into retirement. So there's just a lot of aspects to it. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And that's why the city and the county are looking at auxiliary dwelling units and how to make them work in the current zoning, or maybe if zoning changes are needed.
So I belong to a national cohort at a Portland State University that has been looking at this for years. The person who commented is spot on. It's very expensive to build ADUs. Now,
Wait, we're talking 6 figures plus if you're building something from scratch.
correct. So
I built one for less, for 80, but go ahead.
You built one for 80K?
I did.
Was that
you
recent?
you renovated the top of a garage,
Yeah.
right? But price per square foot, I bet you that was not.
Well, that
She-
included the garage, though, too.
It did
We built
include-
a detached garage unit
Got
with
it.
an ADU on top.
Oh, nicely done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Who? Average.
Average.
It's
Over six figures, yeah.
Average. The price per square foot for an auxiliary dwelling unit is very expensive because you still have to build the same baths, the same plumbing, the same electric, yada yada yada.
And you can't
we're-
always pay your electrician in bourbon and pizza,
Yeah, I
which is
know.
what we did, which is what we did, yeah.
You know a lot of people. You're a well-connected woman over here.
You're not supposed to pay your electrician in bourbon.
Pizza. She's a well-connected woman.
Just
she
telling
could find
you.
an electrician if you can even find one now. Good
Because
God.
she's got bourbon and
and
pizza.
pizza. I know one. She's a well-connected woman.
But here's how they are answering that question, because I think what the person's trying to do is tie it to affordable housing.
Right. That's what the person's doing here.
Got it.
Yeah.
So this is what I've been touting for quite some time. This is how they do it out west. We've talked about this all
The
the time.
tax incentives.
That's exactly right. These things tend to.
I listen to you.
Thank you, sir. These things tend to go from west to east, right? These ideas and housing. It's just the way it's been, at least for the last 3 decades that I've been doing this. But that's what they do. They offer incentives to the property owner that, for if you keep it at an 80% AMI or below, you get 15 years tax credit, so forth and so on. There's also a plan, Miss Executive Director of the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust, where there's a plan out there that I kind of
I think people are
authored
seeing you on the show. That's what's
a little
happening
bit.
here.
Is that your phone ringing?
Yeah, I think people are seeing Susan on the show and they're ringing her up and messing with her. Go ahead, Keith. I'm sorry.
Tell this guy Smith to shut up.
No, people like Susan on the show. We're at 11:30 here.
It's okay. We got a few more minutes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reality of it is that there's a plan out there that we orchestrated that the land trust actually owns the parcel if you're doing a fresh new project, right? So I would enter into a lease into Jerry at his particular home, me meaning the land trust, to rent the land from him at so many dollars a month or whatever it is, and then we put the house on top of that. He gets a tax credit. We put folks in it. It's a pretty simple back of the napkin plan. That's my next step.
That's
by
our
the way.
next step. That's right. It's in our strategic plan. So,
Any more? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 11:31.
Is Mr. Beckham watching?
I believe so. It's 11:31 here. It's 11:31. 29's got traffic.
It's okay.
Okay.
Give me 5 more minutes and I'll get out of here.
Okay.
Look, all seriousness, I'll jump out and you guys can finish up.
So a follow-up on the ADU.
okay. Affordable dwelling or auxiliary?
I think these people are calling it auxiliary
Okay.
dwelling because frankly I didn't even know the ADU was affordable dwelling. So this one right here, you said you built your ADU for $80K.
Way back in the day.
Okay.
We're not talking about the lumber prices today.
All right. So then maybe this question's
one
not
of our-
applicable here.
And one of our partners, I have to give a shout out to, is Better Living Trust Plant. It's really amazing.
You're a unique case. You've had the skill sets, you've had the resources, you've had the human
The
resources to do it, you've had the bourbon.
She has the network.
You had the peach, you have the network.
Yeah.
Most people do not have that. Right? And one of the problems
But that's where the land trust brings to the table.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
That's exactly how that works, and that's the reason why this land trust ADU, auxiliary dwelling unit. Let's not use acronyms. This auxiliary dwelling unit plan is kind of being formulated out west and working its way east on that stuff. Is one of the problems that they ran into is what we have here, as far our ordinance in Charlottesville and Albemarle has that it must be owner operated, owner occupied. So we meaning the land trust, cannot do this. We can't do this, what we just outlined, because we would have to own the parcel.
That's right. It's not the intent of their zoning, but you're correct.
There's a rule in there that says that, and that's what happens. And there was a rule out west that said the same thing. And when they remove that, that's when this land trust model can step in and work on it.
Yep.
And one of the reasons they were having problems with it is Jerry doesn't know how to build. Jerry doesn't know how to manage rental properties. Jerry, he does, but
He doesn't have enough bourbon.
What happened?
Nicholas Erpy, the CMO of Emergent Financial Services, says, "I know a local financial firm that may accept bourbon and pizza as an acceptable medium of exchange." Nicholas Erpy, I love you, Nicholas.
Well,
Erpy.
hold it.
I really do.
Are we negotiating?
I really do. Hey, you have no idea the Pandora's box you're opening right now with this man, Nicholas Erpy. Prepare yourself, my friend. So the follow-up for Susan is, did you get, okay, so I'll ask the whole question. You built an ADU for $80K. Did you get tax incentives to do this? How do we go about doing this ourselves? You answered this
Yes.
by saying...
We don't have that in our communities yet.
Okay.
But it's coming.
Yeah.
It might be coming.
So here's the deal. Have them DM either Susan or I, and we'll
we'll
help them.
talk offline,
We'll help them walk
yeah.
through that.
Yeah,
We can do that.
There you
We
go.
can do that.
The ADUs like this could also work around the area to get more diversity. It has been good to have ADUs in Belvedere. It works maybe all builders in Belvedere can do this on all lots if garages fit on land.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Multiple options.
Yep,
Multiple
yep.
options.
Yep.
Kevin, in Charlottesville at Albemarle County, how much longer do you think affordable housing will exist or be a focal point?
For a very long time. Very simple. This is very simple. We are 5.5 million units short.
5.5 million short.
For the
Right now.
region. For the
United States.
Yeah.
For the United States. Yeah.
Period.
Thank you.
5 point. New construction has not kept up with housing demand, and as millennials
That's
get into
the 5.5 I'm
yeah,
talking
you taught
about.
me that. As millennials get into the housing game, there's a housing shortage, and that's just driving up price points.
44% of the sellers look like me.
Yeah.
38%.
Baby boomers.
30 age. 38% or
Look like me.
Look like you.
Vanessa Parkhill, love when you watch the program. 11:35 here. Why don't we close with a final word?
I can leave and you guys can talk.
Or you
Andy.
guys, you want to go? Final word.
Thank you to our partners for, and as we mentioned, the list is quite lengthy, for making Spring Hill Village happen.
Next rule, put your phone on silent.
I mean, it's okay. No one can hear it. She just is a popular lady.
AD
and they're watching her on a very well-watched network. Final word for you.
No, thank you. And I wanted to.
This is a good show.
Yeah. No, don't sit. I just wanted to thank you. You know, you put a lot of effort, a lot of
Yeah,
work
you're
into this, on this to make it
guys are
happen.
awesome.
I wanted to really take this opportunity to thank you publicly. We could not have done this without you, so thank you. Thank you very much.
That's
it,
the
sir.
show.
That's the show. I gotta go.
Real Talk, guys. I Love CVille Network, presented by Yes Realty Partners. Trust the name of the game, Yes Realty Partners. If you want to navigate the buying and selling process, Yes Realty Partners. Folks, also Intrastate Service Company, a home's best friend. Intrastate Service Company, thank you for being a part of the show as well. This is Real Talk. We will see you on Tuesday at 10:15.
Thank you for letting me lie to you and tell you I was only going to
15
talk
minutes.
to you for
It's
15
11:36. Someone's like, where the hell is Susan? All right, you guys have a good day. Take care. Did you have a meeting after this?